First thing I want to show you is just a Desmos presentation of two piecewise equations, and that no matter where I put this in motion, no matter where I change the point where they cross, you can see that the two lines or two different graph pieces of the piecewise function, they never overlap. Right? So I can say, you know, this one needs to be less than -1, this one needs to be greater than -1, and that will keep them from ever overlapping. So that's always going to be something true on all of your graphs that you make, that they will not overlap. Okay? So if one of the graphs starts at -1 and goes to the left, the next one's going to start at -1 and go to the right, but they're never going to, if you do that vertical line, they're never going to touch more than one point. Okay? So going back to here, what I want you to do here, so I'm going to give you something that's going to help you do the graphing. So go ahead and just fold over this to like maybe like right about there and right about there. So it looks like that. Just fold it over. And in the margin, you're going to use something to write with, and put on the left side, put greater than and greater than or equal to. This is the greater than sign. And this is the less than side. Okay. And as a practice run, let's go ahead and graph one together. Let me find it here. Yeah, let's go ahead and graph. Open it back up and let's write this in. F of x equals, big brace, and let's do -x plus 2 if x is less than 0, less than or equal to 0, and 1/2 x plus 3 if x is greater than 0. Okay. Just like that. And this is a technique that's just going to help you not have those different pieces overlap. It'll let you know where each graph should start and stop. So on here, let's just go ahead and graph the -1. Remember, -1 over 1x plus 2. We're going to do this in pencil only because we're going to have to do a little erasing. So we got plus 2, so start there. And then I'm going to go down 1, right 1. So if I go down 1, right 1 a few times, and then use a straight edge to complete the line. Okay. So to figure out where this part should be graphed, where do you cut it off? Now, since this is going to be x less than or equal to 0, use the less than side. Use this fold. And you're going to move it to 0. Now remember, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Go ahead and label those, just like I am. So whatever numbers are right here, those are all x's. So you want to go to this x-axis and look for that number. So 0 is just right there in the middle, right? So that means you want to fold it over to 0. And once you fold it over, whatever you see, that's the part that's actually in your answer. So this part is the part that's actually part of the graph. And the part that's underneath is not and should not be there, so erase that off. Okay, and that's how you use this foldable. Is that look for the sign if it's less than, so you use this flap, and then you move it to less than 0, so you move this one to 0, and then whatever you see is what you get for your answer. Okay. This is also a less than or equal to, so that's going to be a solid dot, so you can put a solid dot at the end there, arrow at the other end. And then we can do the same thing for the second equation. Okay, so we're going to start at 3, and we're going to go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2, do that a few times. And likewise, this is greater than, so I'm going to use the other side, the greater than side, and fold that over to 0. So when I say fold that to 0, that's the part that should be there for that part of the graph. So let me make that permanent. All right. This is an open circle because there's no line underneath. So I'm going to make this an open circle and then erase everything else just like that. And then what you have left with is the correct graph. Again, you can notice that it passes the vertical line test. If you pass something vertical over your graph, it would only touch the graph at one point. Two graphs never overlap. Even right here, there's a closed circle and open circle, so it technically only crosses the graph at one point. And then as I keep moving right, it's only touching at one point. So that's how you'll use this foldable to help you. Just know that these are always going to be x values, stand for these numbers here. Okay. So let's practice a few on the other page that I handed out. All right. So the directions are right here on the side. First, graph it. Graph the first piece. So graph negative x. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do the graph negative x across the whole thing. If you need a reminder, just know that's negative 1 over 1x, right? So I'm going to start at 0, go down 1 over 1. Okay. Now remember, these numbers here, those are x values. So where is x equals 2? Right? You find that. Okay, here's x equals 2 right here. And we want to do a less than. So if we want to do graph a less than, remember, fold the right-hand side of your paper for a less than. So that means fold this right-hand side of the paper over to 2. X equals 2. And then what you see right there is the part that should be on your final answer. Okay. And then you can check that since this has a line underneath, it'll be a closed circle. And erase the part that was underneath the paper. The part that's underneath the paper is what you erase. So that's all of this. And after a while, you won't need to do the folding anymore, but if you have to do it every time, that's fine also. Even people, when they're taking their quizzes and tests with this, they'll be folding the paper just to make sure, and that's okay. Let's do the next one. Graph x, just 1 over 1x. So just start here, go up 1 over 1. Alright, and since this is a greater than, for greater than you want to fold the left side for the of the paper. And go to the same number, go to 2. So x equals 2 is the same place. So you can see where one graph stops, that's where the other one's going to pick up. So fold that over to 2, and you can see, yeah, that's where the first graph stopped, so it's going to pick back up right here. And like that. And this one, there's no line underneath, so it's open circle. And erase everything else. Okay. And there's your final graph. And again, that vertical line test must hold. So if I pass something vertical over it, you can see how it only crosses one of the graph at one place at one time. As soon as I get to here, it's still only one place because it's a solid dot here. As I keep moving to the right, it's now passing through the other graph, but only at one place. So if you ever see these two intersect or overlap in any way, then there's something wrong. Go ahead and do number 7. Try that on your own. I know they're not numbered in order, but just want to do the ones that you guys can try out. Try that, see how it goes. I'll walk around and see if we need any help. Okay, so let's start at -2. Go up 2 and right 3. Okay, and this one's going to be less than 3. So if it helps, go ahead and label where 3 is on the x-axis. Here's x, so this is 1, 2, and 3. So this is where you're folding to, is right here at x equals 3. So less than 3, use the right-hand side. Move it to 3, and you know that's the part that should be in your answer. And it should be open. And then everything else should be erased. Everything underneath the paper gets erased, so that's this part. And then we have y equals -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, just a horizontal line with 0 slope. And then since we want to do greater than or equal to, use this side and fold it over to 3 once again. And you can see that's what should be in your answer here. And then erase everything underneath. And this one will be closed circle because it has the equal to. So put a solid dot there. And then you can check one more time, make sure the vertical line test holds. So if you pass something vertical over, you can see it only touches the line at one point all the way across. Okay, not too bad. Go ahead and flip it over. Okay, go ahead and give that a shot. If you're getting the hang of it, go ahead and do both of them on the back. Okay. So for your homework, if you need a reminder of this, go ahead and on your homework, fold it over right now so that you know this side, these are for the greater thans, right? And this side on the right is for the less thans. And that way, as you're doing this, you'll remember which one to use. So if you're trying to graph less than 0, okay, you know to use this side and just move it over to 0. Okay. Right. You can also use Desmos. Remember in Desmos, you just have to put in the little braces, and that'll help you out as well, so you can do a check on them also. Okay, so take a look at both sides, find the hardest problem that you see on both sides, and do that one right now. Try to get the hardest problem finished before you leave, and then everything after that will be easier. Okay? All right, so good luck on that.